hey guys, we're here. It's like 1:30 basically. Uh and I have a lot of feelings towards well, not necessarily feelings. I have like a lot of anticipation, but I have more negative feelings, I guess, towards this episode without even seeing it because I feel like there's so much that needs to be addressed, and I just found out it's 51 minutes long.
And 4 seconds.
And 4 seconds. Hey,
4 seconds.
that changes everything, Tim.
It can.
Who knows? Who knows? This could be a great episode. I've enjoyed the ride. Like I've enjoyed the ride so far. It's not great at all. It's just, I mean, honestly, it's not like this is not a great show. It's
I just
more
love how you're tearing the show apart before we've even started. This is a hell of an intro, Jack.
To everyone watching, I love Star Wars. Ewan McGregor is amazing. I think Reva is a somewhat good character, and the haters need to back off. But I am still like, I just want to make sure I'm excited to watch this. I get to see Darth Vader and Obi-Wan fight again. Hopefully, I'm assuming that's what we're gonna get on Mustafar. I'm calling it right now. On Mustafar, we are getting that. I'm excited. I'm excited for what could possibly happen. So I don't want to make it seem like I hate the show. I don't hate the show. It's just been kind of underwhelming in areas that I wish weren't. But when it's exciting, it's really good. Like with Hayden Christensen coming back, that element was awesome. I hope we get another flashback, honestly. I hope we get Qui-Gon. If Qui-Gon doesn't show up, that's going to be a bit disappointing, honestly. There's been so many hints building up to that. But anyways, guys, we are here to watch the series finale or season 1 finale. Oh my God, they don't even show how she, okay. I guess they,
Yeah, but she's got the wrap around.
Oh,
you know what I'm
okay.
saying?
That means that it's been some time.
Yeah, she's got.
I'm looking for a farmer. This is like The Last Jedi.
Why? Because he's got red lighting on his face.
No, because they basically are in the same situation with the First Order. Yeah, exactly. They're trying to get out. Oh no, they're right on our tail. We're all gonna die. He's gonna be the distraction because all he wants is Obi-Wan. Come on, just do it. Just fly to Mustafar already. Qui-Gon, tell me what you need me to do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really care about that. This dude, I'm like, okay, I feel for him. Even though he's like kind of a jokester, prankster.
That's all he is to me. He's just like a comedic part of the show. I don't see him as an actual character. I just see him as, oh, joke here, joke there. Yeah. That's it.
I at least serious just now.
Yeah, I feel something for him because at least he's been like a constant like in the show.
I hope this whole episode doesn't just take place in Tatooine, for the love of Christ.
Please tell your father I tried.
Tried? I feel like you did your job. You did more than your job, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you rescued her. That was the whole point. Like the end.
You one day shall bear the man who looks like a cube. Was it Last Jedi? Was it Last Jedi when he had his shirt off and he just looked like a block?
Oh yeah.
Why can't they send a fleet out to chase? Okay.
But what's very good in the writing, they establish that Anakin is somebody that doesn't really, think clearly. He just acts. Which to me, that's believable. That's an Anakin move.
Like even when he has like sound counsel, like whether it's evil or good, he puts blinders on for sure.
All he sees is rage. Kathleen Kennedy said this is the rematch of the century. Let me see that.
What?
I'm honestly looking forward to their dialogue.
Like, why did Obi-Wan set that thing up? Like, is he live streaming? Is he live on Twitch? Like, what's happening?
Dang.
Oh yeah, they got the classic.
I will do what I must. Dang, that was good. That was a good callback. Ooh, beautiful.
Oh, how when he was like, then you will die. That reminds me of like when Anakin, he was like, you will try.
Yep, that's what it was. That was beautiful.
One hand.
Ooh, good. Back to back, baby.
Why are
Several
you
times
here?
throughout
Why are you
watching this
here?
series
Why did
is
the
like
writers bring you here?
what they've done with the lightsabers in this series is just it's incredible. It's very beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's good.
It's like my favorite representation of lightsabers, I think, like on screen, which is very interesting. Oh my God, so many callbacks to episode 3 because it was very similar like that because they were fighting on Mustafar like in that conference room, and when they got to that hall, they were just tearing everything up side to side.
Oh, he's got the high ground. Look who's got the high ground, baby. Let's go.
They did it. They did it.
They did it, man. Oh my God. Oh my
He
God.
is not playing around with Obi-Wan. Why are you running after a kid? Just use the Force.
It would have been cooler if Qui-Gon said something to him, but that's just me. He remembered people. Oh.
Ooh,
Dang.
right there.
Love it. Love it.
Ooh, that's spin
That was
move.
never a smart idea, but it's Star Wars, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Ooh, the spin move, man.
Oh,
Oh,
yes. Yes.
dang. Oh, okay.
I guess I'm left to assume that the Force is why he is not breaking apart. Yeah.
I'm confused. I'm just that's more of what it is. I'm confused.
I kind of am too.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm like, what is the end goal of this? What? You're just gonna kill him? You want to
'Cause, like,
talk to him?
At least during the episodes where he had no idea like what her backstory was and like why she was so hell-bent on getting Kenobi, at least she was like a consistent figure.
Yeah.
This seems so outside of the realm of everything we've seen her like do.
Especially knowing her past now. Like,
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Dang.
Dude,
Dude.
Obi-Wan is not playing nice.
Oh, he's doing the classic.
Ooh.
It's like episode 6.
oh, jeez.
Yeah, this is it. This is the money shot.
That's the good stuff right there, man. Yeah.
That was a
I
good
agree.
shot.
Oh, we're gonna see his face. Dang.
Anakin.
I told you. That's the money shot.
Anakin's gone. I am what remains.
Dude, I felt that.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Wow.
Obi-Wan didn't go to kill Darth Vader. He went to like finish Anakin. But when he realized that Anakin was already dead, that was it.
But then
There's
why
no-
not kill him? If there's nothing left he's attached to, why leave someone so dangerous alive?
Because
That's what I was
it's
thinking
like-
too.
it's not his responsibility. I think that's what that's his mental state. The time of the Jedi is over. You know? Like he felt like that was his
But
almost like his
But it's
last
like
duty.
But it's
I mean,
like
you
the
could argue
second
that
time.
none of this is his responsibility. Luke isn't his responsibility, but it's a Jedi's duty to save him.
Well, not quite. Just on the basis of he said that he was going to watch over the boy. Like that's what he told Yoda and
guess,
Bail
yeah.
Organa. Yeah. So, you know, that's the one thing that he wanted to do. I know Owen is mad. Like, you just beat the hell out of us to
Yeah,
like
right.
find this boy. Now you come back with him. Like, what is
Well,
this?
I think they think he's dead right now.
But why is that action showcasing you're doing it for them? I don't get that. Just because it's
Because it's revenge against him for what he did to her, but it's still hypocritical.
still hypocritical. Yeah, that's why I do not like the writing with this.
Well, I guess maybe the angle that they're coming from it with is that like because it's purely emotional. Like maybe that's the because like it makes no logical sense. But
To
like
me-
she's like grasping at straws in a way, like it's just out of like
Yeah.
desperation because she already
Yeah.
tried to like fight him, and he beat the tar out of her and left her for dead. So like she feels like the only way to wound him is to like kill his son, that he like obviously doesn't really care
Yeah,
about.
like,
But
what other way to get at
Exactly.
him?
right,
I don't know. I feel like she'd be.
But he doesn't
Smarter
know
than
where
this?
he doesn't know where his son is. Like
Yeah.
how,
right.
So we don't know what Luke means to Anakin right now. We have no idea.
Yeah, this
I
whole
don't know,
thing
we
was
can-
underwhelming because like Luke, we know Luke's okay. I think that's the whole thing that took me out of this entire thing was just like cool, no tension at all.
Hello there.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yep, there he is. Okay, thank God. I was about to say that is so disappointing if he does not show up.
I want to hear what he says.
Well, beginning to think you'd never come.
I was always here, Obi-Wan. You just were not ready to see. Come on, you've got a ways to go.
Oh, that's some Jedi BS. If I ever heard it.
That's it.
That was
Okay.
it. He was shooting
Okay.
something else that day.
He was like, I gotta go film Blacklight 2 and Taken 25.
I have
Most
to
anticipated
go-
movies.
I have to go train Batman and be Jesus.
Yeah, this was like a 5.5 or a 6 for a show for me.
For the whole show.
For the whole show. Probably a 6. I'll give it a 6. You know what? Screw it. I'll be nice. I'll give it a 6. It's okay. I'm gonna watch certain parts. I felt like even this fight was good, but I feel like I've seen fan fights, fan movies that are better than what we even saw in this whole entire show, personally. And like I've seen more creative turns, creative music cues, creative shots. There were some really good shots. I don't want to downplay that. I really loved, because you were pointing that out, Tim, the wide shots. Love that stuff. I eat that up. I still felt like there was some weird shaky cam that I wasn't really a fan of. For some reason, they wanted to keep that trend going. Yeah, it was a good fight. Not the best fight I've ever seen. I wish it was a little bit longer. I like the moments that they had heart to heart. The dialogue moments, honestly, were better than the fight to me. Just that I almost teared up seeing Obi-Wan's reaction. Like when the show was about the things that we actually were expecting to see, it was amazing. Like to me, the expectation, at least for me, was it's about Obi-Wan and it's the connection of Vader and their relationship now, or the hunt for Obi-Wan. And instead we got a show that had some of that. Not that, to me, there really wasn't a lot of that. Like it was a main point in the show. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I'm not going to say it was like a sideline, storyline, but even Reva felt more like a presence in this show more than Obi-Wan. Like it was about her. And and just how they ended her character too, it just seems like they're going to do a spinoff, and I don't want that. I don't care.
A lot of people are saying like this is the Reva show, and I just don't think I entirely agree with that.
I'm not saying it's entirely her show, but I feel like there was a lot of storylines, her being the main one, in my opinion, and Leia, where it focused on things where I understand you need to have certain story elements that drive you to the main plot point, right? It just felt like they focused too much on those plot points rather than the actual plot point that we want to see. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I entirely, think it's her show. No, but I think they focused too much on her, honestly. And they focused too much on the Leia aspect. I remember saying this in the very beginning. I really hope this show isn't about him protecting Leia, and that's what this was. It was a show that subverted our expectations. They gave us a trailer that played Duel of the Fates, the very first one. Get us in that feel, like, oh my God, we're going to get so much nostalgic moments, which we got some. Hello there. We got some cool liners that were reversed from Revenge of the Sith. You will try. Love that stuff. But to me, it was like a bait and switch where you're going to get this story where he's protecting Luke. Just kidding. It's actually about Leia, which I'm fine with because Leia is important. And I think that was the whole point of the show, was that she is just as important as Luke. I get that. But how they executed that, I wasn't a fan of. And how they replayed literally the same story beats in episode 2, episode 4, that was a complete waste of time. And now seeing this could have been, I think you were saying this, Tim, last week, this could have just you could see this more as a 2-hour film. Like, this doesn't need to be this overbroad, like it doesn't need to be stretched out to 5 hours.
I don't know if that's what I said, but okay.
Well, you were saying something like how like this could have been like essentially like it doesn't need to be.
I said it could have been around 4 episodes.
Well, it doesn't need to be this long. They could have trimmed the fat. And I think that's my big thing. Overall with this show, I loved the moments that were epic, that were about Anakin, that were about Obi-Wan. But I can't say that I loved it or even really, really liked it. I was more disappointed with what they gave us, honestly. And I think it's better than Book of Boba Fett, but I can't believe I'm saying I think, because I did not like Book of Boba Fett.
I haven't seen
it. I mean, there was 2 episodes in that show that were better than any of this. I will say that for sure. I don't like the whole Mandalorian stuff, like that is way better than what we got here. And maybe it's my fault. Maybe I had way too high expectations because it's Obi-Wan Kenobi and they were marketing that it's about Vader as well. And where they're at 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, people thought freaking Cal Kestis was going to show up. That didn't happen. We got Qui-Gon. He showed up for literally 10 seconds. And while they're building him up, like, because obviously he was going to show up. Literally, the recap spelled it out for us in the first episode. Said, oh, Yoda's got some, he wants to train you from your old master, Qui-Gon. Okay, great. We're going to see Qui-Gon at the very last second. Okay, cool. Thanks for the setup.
Liam was probably shooting something else that day. I don't know.
Maybe. Either way, I just felt like it was like, I'm great that we saw him. It was cool. Like literally since 1999. That was the last time we saw him in a Star Wars property, live action. And that's awesome. I'm grateful for that. But I was overall disappointed with this show. Really liked the fight, but I really want to make sure I loved the fight sequence in this episode. I thought it was really well done. The scene where you see freaking Anakin with the mask open and you see his eyes, his intensity of anger and rage and bitterness and hatred. I'm all for that, but they should have focused on that. And if I have to say one last thing, each episode should have had a flashback sequence of Anakin and Obi-Wan and their relationship. Like, I love the way they did that in episode 5, where it was like a point to make for Darth Vader's actions in the present and then showcasing what Obi-Wan was trying to teach him. I feel like that would have been amazing to do for each episode, but instead, and I think that's another thing when it comes to expectations, when I heard Hayden was coming back, my biggest fear was that they were going to, I don't want to say waste, but just not utilize him enough in the sense of like him, I really wanted some more flashbacks.
Like his face?
Like literally flashbacks. I personally thought we were going to get more Clone Wars flashbacks.
Honestly, I think after some of what I saw, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I think I'm kind of grateful that they didn't, because whatever de-aging software they used on Mark Hamill did not work on Hayden Christensen.
No, yeah, I don't even think they did it. I think they literally just put on makeup.
When they show him walking up to the younglings, I'm like, that man's almost 40. Like, this person I'm seeing is at minimum close to being done with his 30s. Like,
I don't even know why. I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it more than the first time we saw Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker in season 2 of Mandalorian, for sure. That was just creepy. Or Tarkin in Rogue One. That was just cartoon.
That was the creepiest, weirdest so far.
That was the weirdest one.
That is clearly not a person.
Yeah. So that's personally if I had to make a note to Deborah Chow, be like, hey, you didn't do a terrible job. I just felt like you could have utilized more of Hayden other than him just being in the suit, even though probably half the time he wasn't because stunt doubles. And he had one flashback scene that lasted for 3 minutes throughout the entire episode because they obviously spliced it. That was probably literally just a day shoot, if not a day, maybe a couple hours. I don't know. It's probably a day. It's just, maybe it's a show that when I rewatch it, I will appreciate it more. Kind of like how, I don't know, that's kind of like with properties with movies and shows. Sometimes like a year goes by and you rewatch and you're like, actually, you know what? I missed the point. And maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe I am missing something, and I'm open to change. I'm not going to say I will always have the same opinion about this show, but currently with my feelings, overall feeling underwhelmed, and it feels hollow and empty. That's what this show did for me. It just felt kind of empty. Like you see this stuff and it's happening, but it's just happening. And when it gets to the good stuff, and I don't just mean like action or whatever, I mean like the really raw, authentic moments, even with like Reva, there was some genuine good moments, and with Leia. But overall, I just felt kind of empty. And that's me. Yeah, go crazy. Yeah. It's a 6.
Rich?
Yeah.
Or are you trying? Go ahead.
No. I think that I think if I were to come into it not knowing anything about Star Wars whatsoever, I think that my biggest issue with this series is just like clear story direction. So it's like when we look at the arc of the entire series, I guess we want to call it, until they announce the second season, it's like, okay, again, as someone who knows nothing about Star Wars, what was the point of all of that? What was the point? Right? I don't really know. I mean, I saw a lot of like cool things, and some cool fights, and I maybe encountered a couple of cool characters along the way. Of course, I saw this character Obi-Wan go off from like being a cowering Jedi, one of the last of his kind, if not the last of his kind. I saw him in like the last maybe like 2 episodes really transform into like, regaining his skills and his ability. Well, kind of, not all the way, but like that kind of thing. But like outside of that, it's like what did we gain? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, sure, again, like, Leia in the beginning, she's like skirting her responsibilities. By the end, now she, of course, like assumes her own like identity, but within the role of like being a princess and saying like, okay, I'm not going to run away from this. But it's like, what is this? Like, what is this about? Like, I don't know what the message is. I see character development, but what is this about? I don't know what the story is like trying to tell me.
I
think
think the message. I think the message is found through Obi-Wan's character, but it's a message we always knew he was going to receive. So it's not like a revelation when he figures out how to get back in tune with the Force.
Yeah, but see, like as someone that like doesn't know anything about Star Wars, right? Like,
okay, in a vacuum. Okay.
Yeah, in a complete vacuum, right? Like, because I can say like what I expect or whatever, like, which I'll get to like right after this, but in a complete vacuum, I just don't quite know what the point was. And I think that like that's that's like a real issue. Because the last 2 episodes are like dramatically different, in my opinion, than the other 4 episodes. Like the content in those episodes is like very different. And like along with that point of like story, right? So like we see, the arc of the story through the 6 episodes. And to me, like I said, the like overall like message, like if I was to just say, what is this story about? Go. Like that's something that's going to like take time. You're going to have to like extrapolate. And then
I don't think the show's meant to work in a vacuum at all, though.
but see, okay, so in a vacuum, like I said, the overall story, but then like if I were to go episode to episode and look at the arc like of each episode as an episode of its own, I was left a lot of times feeling completely like unsatisfied and being like, what? And then not really getting the payoff of that in the next episode. You know, maybe the next episode was a better episode. So for example, episode 2 in episode 3. Episode 2 was a weak episode in my personal opinion. Then we go to episode 3. Episode 3 was a stronger opinion, but was a stronger episode rather. But like it didn't really feel like payoff for episode 2. It didn't then recontextualize episode 2 for me.
Yeah, you weren't like on the edge. I mean, like you weren't like. I feel like I'm sharing the same sentiment where it's like you're not like, oh my god, like dude, what? Like every single time, I feel like our reactions were kind of the same when each episode ended, where it was like, okay, I guess it's over.
Well, I think what Rich is trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, is that the stronger episodes did nothing to reinforce the purpose of the weaker episodes.
Yeah.
So episode 2 happens, and she's like, "You're not my real dad," and she runs away. And then everything's hunky dory, and they have a force connection or whatever at the end of episode 2. Then episode 3 happens, and we're like, "Oh, okay, that was better." But it doesn't do anything to go back and like tell us why episode 2 had to be a weaker episode. Is that
right?
Am I understanding?
Right?
That?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I feel like there were issues with story in both the macro and the micro. The macro is the series and the micro are the episodes. And so, you know, that's kind of what I would see like in a vacuum. But then like knowing everything that I know about Star Wars, I think that of course everyone says that like they could write a better story. I don't know under what pretense that they like wrote these things and everything that went into it. But I do think that there were better ways that they could have told this story, whatever the story was that they were like trying to tell, because it seemed like, I mean, you know, it seemed like they were trying to tell several stories at once. And I don't even I'm not even talking about like the story of Leia and of Reva and Obi-Wan. I'm not even talking about that because like, I mean, that could have been treated a lot, that could have been treated better as well. But like, as far as things with Obi-Wan that like just did not like, for me, it wasn't as like pointed or precise. So it felt like there was just like a lot of wandering. And I think that also like fed into what a lot of people are saying as far as, well, I'll just speak for myself, as far as the way that I felt about being confused about the character of Obi-Wan as he's characterized throughout this series is like, sure, we can chalk certain things up to trauma. We could chalk certain things up to, okay, maybe it's been a long time. We could chalk certain things up to, you know, he's severed his, you know, connection with the Force because we could say failure. We could say whatever it is that we want to say. And some of those things we would just have to, I don't know, deduce. Some things we would just have to, you know, it would just be complete conjecture because they don't even give us those things, you know, as fans. So like we don't even quite know why for some of those things. But it just felt like his character was very inconsistent. And sometimes like his motives for things were like, again, like not consistent with the ways that they wrote him in other episodes. And yeah, it was just, that was very strange to me. It felt like even though I didn't come to this series with like a whole lot of expectations. Whatever like little expectations that I had, it was like it ended up being beneath that. So like it seemed to me that with the way that they were talking about this series, um, that we were going to get basically episode 5 and 6, right? Episode 5 and 6 was for fans. I don't know what I don't know what 1 through 4 was for. Like, sure, they had different things that like felt like Star Wars, things that were like, you know, good callbacks, or just they felt like they sat in the Star Wars world
Hmm.
for Star Wars fans, but they were brief moments. Episode 5 and 6 felt like they were specifically for Star Wars fans that grew up on the prequels. And I think that that also adds to some of that like frustration of like, so why didn't we do this the other like 4 episodes? Like, what was the point of that? Because like on the one end, already it's like I don't quite know what. I mean, sure, I know what the point is, right? Like they're trying to explain certain things, are like they're trying to create this bridge between episode 3 and episode 4. Sure, I understand that. But as far as like story, like, you know, what was the actual point outside of just tying up certain holes in logic here and there? That's kind of what I'm saying. Like as a story, as a narrative, what was the point? Because he ends up leaving the boy alone anyway and going somewhere else. To where, I don't know. I mean, it anyway. So, you know, that's those are some of the issues that I had. Was, you know, I feel like it was a bait and switch in a way, and I was cool up until like really this episode. I thought that this episode would give me closure. Not exactly in the sense of like where they're not going to make it where it's like, oh, we're going to do a season 2. I don't mean that kind of closure. I meant as far as again, like I was saying before, like kind of reinforcing or validating all the other episodes that we kind of just trudged through.
Well, yeah, the
But
storyline, like the point of it, like where is
right,
this headed at the end of the day?
right. But for me, at the end of it, it actually made me more disappointed because it
Mm,
demonstrated that they kind of knew all along, like what this could have been. Episode 5 and 6 could have been the tone of this entire limited series, but instead they chose to cram it in the last 2 episodes. Almost like a tease is what it felt like. We got all this other random stuff, and then, you know, I, the whole Reva thing at the end is confusing. I don't know why she didn't die in episode 5. She should have died. And by the end of episode 6, she should have died. She should have been dead. I don't know why she's still alive. I mean, sure, I know why she's still alive, but she shouldn't still be alive. Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of around the same point that you're at, Jack, as far as, you know, it's kind of a 6 for me. I probably will rewatch episode 6. I think that I probably will rewatch it in its entirety. There's a lot of things for me that I really like, but as far as like the rest of the episodes, there would just be a couple of moments that like, if I feel like watching something and I have really nothing else to watch, you know, maybe I'll go back to those moments. But like, this isn't
mm.
a series that I would like revisit personally. You know, God bless everyone that worked on it, and I feel bad for speaking about it the way that I did because I know it took a lot of time. But you know, honestly, like, uh, uh, if I had to rate it, it's definitely a 6 for me.
Hmm.
Well, Tim,
Yeah,
what do you think?
some things you said, Rich. I wasn't sure if we wanted to get like conversational or not because it seems like at the moment we're sectioning our opinions at the moment. But something you said was what was it you said about Obi-Wan Kenobi? His something about him was not paced right or not even. I'm trying to remember what it was exactly you said. I think you said his character wasn't consistent. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I am about to sound like a huge snob.
Do it. Do it.
I don't think his
Do it.
character was inconsistent. I think his journey was inconsistent. I think his progression was inconsistent.
I agree. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it.
I think that's what it is. Like, because with this, the canon is further confusing as of to the capabilities of the Jedi and the Sith.
Yes.
Like, he wasn't able to see Qui-Gon because he wasn't ready to, because I'm assuming that is to mean that he is now fully reconnected with the Force. But so was Luke, and he saw Yoda in Episode 8. Luke cut himself off from it too. He had not come back and reaccepted the call of the hero when he was able to see and interact with Force ghosts as well. By the standard of the movies, Jedi that are cut off from the Force are still capable of seeing and interacting with Force ghosts. By the standard of this show, they are not. And I think, had they stuck with the standard they had in the movies, maybe Liam Neeson didn't want to shoot or something. I don't know. But, I mean, let's pretend for some reason assuming that he would have been open to more, it would have made sense for him to have been more a part of Obi-Wan's progression, at least once. In the same way that Yoda is who helped bring Luke back, Qui-Gon could have been the catalyst to help bring Obi-Wan back. And
Agreed.
Because, I mean, this to some, okay, maybe not to the exact extent, but to a DBZ-ish extent, dead people are not out of play completely.
Right.
Death has more weight here than it does in something like that, for sure, because people don't really come back from the dead, I guess, except for Palpatine, who returned somehow.
Palpatine returned.
Somehow he returned. That
Exactly.
was
Somehow he returned.
Great writing.
I've seen a clip before of him saying that line, followed by a really choppy, like, digital zoom in, followed with the Price is Right, you lost the game sound. Bum, 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 bum. I was like, man, that's rough. And like you said, Rich, I know, like, I know how hard it is to make something like this, so I feel bad talking bad about it. And you know what? I even feel bad talking about the writing too, because writing is hard. Even bad writing is hard, because even when writing is bad, someone still presumably put everything they had into it. Like, putting anything you have into it is hard, even if your product comes out bad. Like 50 Shades of Grey started as Twilight fan fiction. Like, actually, it did. But she gave it all she got. Like, you don't half commit to writing a several 100-page saga of Twilight fan fiction. You commit, like, I don't think it was easy for her, even if the world is like, it's insane and bad and highlights potentially, maybe not even potentially, highlights certainly abusive aspects of relationships. But I think, I know we wanted to see more Qui-Gon because we're like, it's been 23 years since we've seen him, and we wanted more of him because it's Liam freaking Neeson. But I think there's more to missing him than just that, because
Yes.
he really could have been a catalyst. And let's say Liam Neeson couldn't film, didn't wanna. He was like, you got me for an hour, makeup included, and we got this. There were still other things that could have been done. Like technology is not so far gone that characters like Yoda can't do something, that characters like this is not, I don't know. I just think we're not too far gone for something like that to take place. But like I said, I think the journey was more inconsistent. His reconnection with the Force was so fast.
Yep.
Like, his disconnection from the Force, we're supposed to believe, was a 10-year journey. His reconnection to the Force was really fast. Like, in episode 3, he's not just disconnected from the Force. He's an awful swordsman. Like, even without the Force, he is not a match for Darth Vader. But now in this, because he's reconnected with the Force, somehow all of his sword techniques come back. I think the choreography in this episode, the fight choreography between them, was good. I think it was a lot better than the fight. The fight between Reva and Darth Vader had really rough choreography.
Yes.
Like, they
It was
had her
shot
like
very
spinning
strangely,
and
too.
rolling on the ground in weird ways, and I was like, who orchestrated this? It's very bizarre. Also, I think the other thing I wanted to bring up that you mentioned, Rich, was you said, what did this what was the gain from this show? What did it add? And I think what it added was something it had to make up so that it could add it in the first place. Was that they're kind of trying to convince us that there's like, you know, Anakin and Darth Vader are like Harvey Dent and Two-Face. I just don't think that's true. I don't think they are kind of a 2-in-1 situation like that. I don't think there's a mental split of that degree. But what it is now that he's taken on the mantle and the actual title of Darth Vader, letting everything go to rest, essentially being reborn and letting completely go of the past and taking on essentially like a new life. Like, he is metaphorically 0 years old as of the moment he becomes Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think one of the most poignant scenes in this entire show was in this episode. And it's when he's on Mustafar and the Emperor shows up via hologram and says, I wonder if your mind is totally clear. Because that's supposed to be the moment that Anakin actually dies. It's not in episode 3. It's not in episode 3 of this show or Revenge of the Sith, or it's that moment where his loyalty is questioned. It's not the moment he's defeated by Obi-Wan either time. I think that's what the show made up the moment that Anakin actually dies. And I think that was, to me, that was the bottom line of this show. And I think it could have been done in shorter time. And I think it could have been done with loose ends. And I hate referring to Reva as a loose end because it makes it sound like I'm like disrespecting the character. But if this was a movie, if this was a theatrical release, I think she would have died. If the job was to make a movie, if they went to the writers and said, this is going to be a movie and not a TV show, the runtime would have been less, which means more loose ends would need to be cinched up, and I think she would have died. I think they may try to do some kind of a series with her. And I don't think there's zero possibility of it being interesting. I don't think there's no way for it to be interesting. But again, I can't help but be like, how many different ways are we going to look at this conflict that we know how it ends? Not only do we know how this conflict ends, we know how the next one ends too. So how many different angles are we really going to feel so inclined to come at this at? I saw a trailer for Andor, and a lot of people were kind of like excited. I thought the editing on it was really unique, but I'm not necessarily convinced that it's going to be like a necessary addition to the already very loaded canon. that being said, it's funny because to me, some episodes were like 7s, some were 6s, and some were like 5s, maybe a high 4s. But it's kind of a different animal when you talk about it as a whole instead of in pieces. And I'm probably close to kind of like the low 6s as well. And it's not as a slight to any of the show's crew or the actors. They all did a great job. Hayden Christensen did a really good job in this episode.
Yeah.
Really good. I mean, the audio engineers with the choices they made on his helmet getting cut up, it was good. The fight choreography, like when Obi-Wan's lightsaber hit that chest plate and destroyed, I was like, I've always wondered what those do.
Yep.
And by them breaking, we find out what it does. It's like, it's honestly probably part of his regulation system, something that helps put his voice out. And it was damaged and created this garbled human robot sound instead of the clarity of James Earl Jones. And I really liked that. I think there's a lot to applaud in the show. I genuinely do. But the only thing that it adds to the canon, I would say, to the canon that wasn't like already foregone, was actually witnessing the moment that Anakin dies. And even that is still foregone. But I think it's still somewhat substantive to see that even 10 years into being Vader, he hasn't fully let go of the past. I do find it kind of funny and interesting that Kylo Ren's character was built up to try to continue Vader's legacy, but his ideology ultimately ends up morphing into something different, where Vader is clinging to the past, and Ben Solo ultimately comes to say to get rid of it completely. And I mean, it's kind of both revelations that they both come to. So it's interesting. My Band-Aid went onto my other hand. Okay. I don't dislike it, but I don't love it. It's like, it's okay. I think it's worth watching once, and you probably should watch all the episodes if you're going to watch it at all. It's got its moments. It's got like I think every episode had at least one moment that I was like, okay, come on. Like all of them without exception, I think, had that. But I think there's far worse you could do. I think you could do far worse. I don't think it's worth all the dunking on that people are doing, be it on their YouTube channels or individually. I just don't think it's worth all that. There's far worse pieces of entertainment that are worth dunking on. The only reason people want to dunk on this is because they feel like it's a break in the armor that is the Star Wars franchise.
This doesn't ruin Star Wars. Like you said, skip it if you don't like it. Just skip it.
It doesn't ruin Star Wars. It doesn't substantially add to it, and I don't think it substantially took away from it either. And I'm glad, because I know one of the worries I had was that their encounter in Episode 4 might be cheapened. I don't think it was. I don't think it was, because I think this encounter was I think it was a meaningful encounter they had in this, but I liked the dialogue they had at the end of their fight. I kind of wish they had a bit more dialogue at the beginning, honestly. I was excited for them to fight, but I was a little disappointed when Obi-Wan pulled his lightsaber out so quickly, because I thought that was a very Anakin thing to do. was to just be like, you're here, let's fight. Like, that's a super duper Anakin thing to do. So I don't know. Them's most of my thoughts. It doesn't seem like they're gonna do another season from what I'm seeing.
The way it ended, seemed like a very mini series, you know. Like, this is Vader, this is his mindset, this is Kenobi, this is where, you know, he's off to do, I guess, nomad-like things. He's going to be the old man Ben.
Go do some hobo stuff. But I'm really glad it didn't take away from their encounter in episode 4. And I mean, I've heard all kinds of people be like, do you ever wonder why A New Hope did this? Well, here over in this movie in 2005. And I'm like, they were not thinking about it in 1977. Like, dude, do not put that much thought into this. Please stop. It's easier just to be like, yeah, the writers didn't know because it was 1977. So it's my 9-year-old nephew started watching the show. I'm kind of curious to know what he thinks of it. I was talking to him and I was saying that I thought the prequels were better than the sequels, and he disagreed with me. And then I told him that episode 9 is my least favorite out of all the movies, and he said that one's his favorite. And I was like, this generation's great.
That's your family.
This is really rough. And I think one of the things that I'm most, I don't know if distressed is the right word, but I guess a little bit saddened by is that when I watch all of the movies and shows, granted I haven't seen the animated shows yet, nobody in the mainline canon seems to be a character that like truly did their best to stick with it until they died, except for like Yoda. Like Anakin stepped away and went to the dark side. Obi-Wan Kenobi disconnected from the Force. Luke Skywalker disconnected from the Force. Like, none of our like mainline Jedis, none of our mainstream ones have like been through the trauma, been through the conflict, and been like, I'm gonna do everything I can to stick with this, even if it's gonna be hard. They gave up and became angry. It's just really unfortunate to not see any of these main heroes not become angry, broken people with time. I think I liked episode 1. I thought it was, if that's the route they were going to go, then the reveal was really good. I just wish they started on a different road.
Yeah, and overall with this show, it's just that I honestly liked episode 1 a lot. Yeah, I liked the idea of the setup of it's going to be kind of a slow burn character study of a broken man learning, and how is he going to regain, you know, the force of being a Jedi, the will to be a Jedi, you know? And instead it was kind of like, oh, it just happened. His strength came back
real quick.
And it happened real quick. Literally got in that back to tank and was like, okay, let's go. And if I remember Leia, and I feel like, you know, the creators were wanting that moment to be more emotional, but it kind of just was like, oh, he remembers Leia. Force push, he gets out. Like, now, the concept sounds cool, but the execution of it was kind of lackluster when it came to that emotional feel. Like, that's what I mean by empty. That scene embodies exactly how I feel the show was executed. It was just empty. You're showing me something that I should connect with, but for some reason there's a disconnect. And I can't really pinpoint the reason why. I just feel like they didn't really lay the groundwork that well. Like you were saying, how the story was inconsistent. The character really wasn't. It was the situations he was involved with. And we should probably end it here because it's 3:08.
I guess I only have
what were you going to say?
I guess I only have one more thought, really, is that let's say Liam Neeson wanted to film more. Like, because the movies also set the precedent that Force ghosts can use the Force. if I'm not mistaken. So honestly, trying to hold all the rubble up would have been a great place for Qui-Gon to come in.
That's what I was expecting.
And possibly hold it up for him so that he could find the strength to like get back in the groove with his master.
It's like the father-son Kamehameha.
Yeah, really.
Gohan versus Cell, yeah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, Jack's like, what the fuck? But it's anime reference.
I can do a reference then. It reminded me of Spider-Man Homecoming. The scene where he's like somebody help me, and then he's getting this strength, and you feel all the emotion. That's one of my favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man moments because
it's a good scene.
You don't have to see flashbacks. You don't have to, look at a visual aid to be like, oh, okay, inspiration. You felt everything through his performance. I feel like if they just maybe sold on his performance and focused on that emotion a bit more, maybe it would have been more compelling. Or I agree with you, Tim. I really wish they did that, is have that father figure, have that mentor there for him in a moment of crisis. He's literally been calling out to him for like this whole show. And for him to just show up at like some random moment that he doesn't even need him at, he's like, hey, we got a long journey, buddy. That's all I had to do. Cameo done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why my bet was that, like after like going from episode 4 and episode 5, that, all those people are gonna get killed. Like as a result to Obi-Wan, and because of that, he's gonna like go back to, like trying to center himself, trying to get back to that. Then Qui-Gon is gonna, reveal himself to him, and that's gonna take him back to that next level. Like at the end of episode 5. Then in the episode 6, now he's back to, what I'm saying, his full on like Obi-Wan, and then we're gonna see him like, be Obi-Wan and fight Vader and take care of like all the bad guy stuff and save the day and whatever else. And then by the end of it, like take on the role of Ben, not to hide, but like as a journey. And like, I mean, we got that like at the very end, but like the whole rest of that we didn't get. Unfortunately, like just to say, basically, I agree with you guys. Like, that was my bet, and like that didn't pay off.
Yeah. Episode 3, he gets whooped. Episode 4, he's like busting out the saber and cutting down stormtroopers.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like like in this series, there's a lot of plot, and there's it felt like a lot of plot and not a lot of strong story.
Yeah,
and
it was a lot of filler. I feel like there was a lot of filler that didn't need to be there.
They go here, they do this, then he does this, then he does that. Then, I mean, yeah, we could say there was motivation, but like, what's the actual narrative to it? Sure, there is some. Not to say that there isn't any, but it didn't feel so.
Right.
Like, yeah. So.
Well, yeah, it's because it's and to end it here, where it's like it's a 6-episode miniseries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give me as much as possible, baby. Like, let me see as much. Like, where is Obi-Wan at? Where does he need to go? Like, and that was the whole point of the journey, is like where he's at, and then where he eventually what lesson he needs to learn and how he needs to move on. He obviously grew, I guess, a lot from this. I don't even really know. And that's something that's really bad when it comes to the story, when it's like you don't even really know the point. It was just kind of, it's there. He's there.
I think Luke and Leia were the biggest fillers, personally. A lot of people will say they think it was Reva. I think it was Luke and Leia. I think Reva still could have functioned in this story, even if it was 4 episodes.
Yes.
And she had potential. That was the thing. She had potential to being a really compelling character. But honestly, because I said I was going to wait till the end.
Yep.
I think she was wasted. I think there was a great idea, but they just didn't know how to land it. And they're like, I guess that she wants revenge, and now she's going to go get Luke. And then she's not going to do it because all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm just like the dude who I'm trying to kill. You didn't think about that the minute that you heard the message and had the thought of, I'm going to go kill Luke. And then you took all the time, however long that was, to go to Tatooine. It took you till the moment that you needed to kill him to have that thought.
Not to get grim, but I mean, it's almost impossible to not see the allegories when you see the scene with her. Like, it's the allegory of when a shooting happens, presumably, unfortunately, in a school, which we've had recently, to all of our horror. The idea that, oh, I was shot, or I was hurt, or whatever, and I faked my death to stay alive. I played dead.
Right.
It's a horrifying notion, but I've yet to hear of anybody who did that and was like, I'm gonna become the shooter's friend and work for them, and one day, like, I think it could have been more interesting if Reva didn't start on the dark side. Like, if she went on as an advocate, like a youngling who survived and has seen your cat. A youngling who survived and saw the horrors of the Empire and wants people to know what's coming. Like, that might have been a more interesting way to start. It would have probably been a more realistic way to start if they actually wanted, if that's the allegory they were actually going for.
Well, if she was like the Jedi that didn't die in the beginning, but if she was the Jedi who is trying to find Obi-Wan and they're both on this mission together and they both have a connection somehow to Darth Vader, that would have been more compelling than, oh, because it just sounds so far-fetched, right? Like that she does all this work to, it just, yeah, it feels very, I don't want to say convoluted, but just kind of unnecessary filler.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, I kind of agree with you that there could have been a better way of attempting her character, because there is, like I said, there is potential for a really compelling arc, but I liked majority of it until probably about the end of episode 4, then going on from that to 5 and 6. I started my appreciation for her character started to diminish for, okay, what's actually the point? Yeah, we get the reveal, but it felt so glossed over. It was just like, okay, there it is.
It's entirely possible that the writers didn't even think of that allegory when they wrote her character. But maybe it's just because, given what's happened lately, this cat's cracking me up, dude. I mean, just given what's happened recently, I mean, they're putting warnings before the show that it might upset viewers, probably because of those things that happen. So it's kind of hard to ignore the potential of an allegory there, even though those events took place after this was probably done, probably exported and uploaded and just on a timer waiting to go.
Oh yeah, they had to do that for Stranger Things, I think season 4. There's like literally the opening of Stranger Things this season. They had like something that said, you know, due to the shootings that have been happening, this actually may disturb you. And it was intense. I won't say what it was, but obviously you can probably get an idea of the context maybe of the scene where, yeah, I think it's smart to do that because people can be triggered by those things. But okay, it's 3:20.
I hope you do a bunch of digital zooms into this cat while we're talking, because it would honestly be hilarious. We're talking, but the frame is just zooming into this cat.
I don't know what possessed her at it's like 5:18 in the morning over here. I don't know what happened to
Isn't her birthday today? Isn't it? Yeah, that's why.
It is.
It's my birthday. What are you doing, Dad? Get off.
That might be what it is.
Give me my
little bit of revenge.
How old is she now?
1.
Oh, It's my first birthday. Let's go, Dad. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us for this entire show. We will try to find another show or movie to do a review, reaction. It's been really fun doing this. I gonna be so dead tired tomorrow, but it was worth it. It was worth it. But I really appreciate it for you guys watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe today. And also, please give a round of applause wherever you're at for my friends here, because literally, Richard, it's like what, 5:22 a.m.
Oh, it's stupid o'clock where you are.
Yeah, stupid o'clock.
It's freaking, it's early/late. We just need to get to bed. Time zones, we're tired. It's 3:00 for us, but we are doing this because we love this stuff and we love to talk about movies and shows, all that fun stuff. But yet again, thank you guys so much for being here. But please, this is like the most important thing you guys cannot forget, and that's to be blessed.